We put in our first multi-species last year. It's performed really well this year. It got a bag and a half of 10, 10, 20 in March, and it got a bag of 21, 2.5, 10 with sulphur the other day, and it all got slurry in February. That's all the nitrogen it got for the year. I don't think that a grass and clover sward would outperform it on that sort of a programme.
Hello and welcome to the Beef Edge, the Teagasc Beef podcast, for all your latest news, information and advice for Irish beef farmers. I'm Catherine Egan, and on this week's episode, I'm joined by DairyBeef 500 farmer Pat Collins from County Cork to give an update on his personal experience of his dairy calf to beef system, management on the farm at the moment and the upcoming open day. You're very welcome, Pat. Can you give a background to the farm and your beef system?
Hi, Catherine. Yeah, look, I'm farming with my father there in East Cork in Castlemarter. We've a beef and tillage farm, doing mainly bull beef, grass-based, and finish them indoors then, obviously. We bought about 300 calves this year, predominantly Frisian bulls and a couple of Angus and Whiteheads and Continentals and a few Angus and Whiteheads heifers.
And it's been a difficult few months weather-wise. How are you managing grass for grazing them at the moment?
The last couple of weeks have nearly been the best few weeks for grass growth throughout the year. We got a bit tight there early summer, late May, so we'd be very dry. We'd have fairly dry ground. We kept feeding the calves then, so that took the pressure off there. But since then, grass has been really flying. All our grass ground got its last round of fertiliser this week. It got 20 units across the board. And we took out a couple of paddocks there 2 weeks ago, just that hadn't been tidied up throughout the year. And we'll be starting building now for the rest of the year.
And you have a mix of traditional permanent pasture and multi-species swards and some red clover swards. In relation to the red clover, how has that been managed over the year, Pat?
Started growing red clover about 4 years ago. I think our first sward is in year 4 now. So it gets fertiliser in February usually. If the ground conditions allow it, you have to tread fairly softly on the red clover ground. And it gets about 2,000 gallons of slurry. It'll be cut then the first week of May. It'll probably get either a bag and a half of 730 or another 2,000 gallons, and it'll be cut sort of every 6 weeks. Then it'll be being cut for the 4th time, probably next week, I'd say. And that'll be its last cut for the year then. And we won't do anything with it then for the rest of the year. Most of our red clover, where we have red clover, are sort of in places that aren't suitable for grazing, so that's why it is. We have one sward that has red clover and grass that we cut last week for the last time, and that will be grazed late on into the year. So they're all on a zero chemical nitrogen program for the year, and the last couple of years the average yield is about 13 tonne of dry matter to the hectare of real high quality, high protein silage.
What stock will you be feeding that to this winter, Pat?
Everything really. Our aim this year is to have enough red clover silage to replace bought in protein. So this year everything we're feeding to the cattle is grown on the farm. We're not buying in anything. We're feeding it to finishing bulls now at the moment, and it'll go on to when the weanlings come in, they'll get it as well. We mix it with either maize silage or grass silage, so we only feed enough of that we need to bring the protein levels up.
And the bulls that you've finishing on the farm, what stage are they at, or how are they currently being managed?
Well, there's 60% of them came in about 5 weeks ago. They're up onto full steam now. They're going well. I suppose there'll be a draw from there maybe in a month's time. And the other 40% of them came in this week. So they're on the starter diet now. They'll be built up over the space of next month. And I suppose we'll be hoping to have all them gone by the end of November, and the sheds will be filled up with weanlings then again.
And what's the starter diet that you're starting those bulls on now coming in?
This one is red clover silage, maize, barley, and beet mixed with soils that we would have ensoiled last spring. We do it every year, just to reduce our feed bill over the summer when we're feeding bulls, and just to reduce the volatility. We're not going out onto the open market having to buy high energy feed. So,
And from bulls that you've finished previously, how do you expect these to finish?
look, our bulls in general always tend to average about the 300 kilos. They'd be up or down. They'd probably be from 270 to 350. I'd imagine these will probably be on target again. May even be slightly ahead. I suppose the bulls that came in this week would have been the lighter bulls, and they're after getting probably an extra 3 or 4 weeks of grass over what they would usually. So we weighed them there the other day when we bought them in, and they were averaging 478. So that would be we'd be always aiming for about 450 bringing them in. So look, hopefully they'll be that little bit heavier when we kill them in November. Although they will be a little bit older, but hopefully they'll be a bit heavier.
That's great. And the calves that you purchased, you mentioned there earlier, the 300 calves, how are they being managed and how will they be managed over the coming weeks?
Look, we rear them there, keep them on ration. As I said, we kept them on ration this year until late June, until grass quality improved. I suppose coming out of the drought, it was very stemmy, so the quality wasn't in. So we kept them on ration. I think it's after standing to them. They got a repi dose for worms and parasites in late May, and they got a mineral bolus when they came off ration at the start of July. They're all just on grass now. They're running in groups of about 65. And they'll probably stay on grass only. Look, we do grass measuring every week, so we'll see where our covers are at, whether once we have enough grass ahead of them, and once I'm happy where the average farm covers are, I'll leave them on grass because they did probably get a month extra this year at the start of the summer than they would normally due to the drought. So look, just to try and recoup a bit of that cost. If I'm happy with how they're doing and we have enough grass, we'll put off putting in the feed maybe for an extra week or two. But look, if grass goes watery and we're not happy with how they're doing, we will go in with maybe a touch of straight barley or something there for a few weeks before we put them on a kilo of nuts.
And you have a mix of multi-species paddocks on the farm as well. How are you finding the management of them and performance of the swards this year?
Yeah, good. We put in our first multi-species last year, last August after barley. It's performed really well this year. It got a bag and a half of 10-10-20 in March, and it got a bag of 21 2.5 10 with sulfur the other day, and it all got slurry in February. That's all the nitrogen it got for the year. It's at the moment it's at about 10 ton. It'll probably reach about 13 and a half, 14 ton. Probably not the heights maybe that you would see out of fresh reseed grass and clover, but it hasn't got any nitrogen. So I think with the exception of give or take 30 units. I don't think that a grass and clover sward would outperform it on that sort of a program. We're really happy with them. We're only in year one, so look, there's a long road to know exactly how good or bad they are. We put in another 15 acres of them this year. They'll be ready for grazing late in the autumn. At the moment, we're really happy with them. I suppose a lot of our reseeding tends to be done from tillage ground going into grass. We rotate our grass around, so we don't have a massive weed burden typically in our reseeds. So that's one thing. And I suppose the mixes we're using are sort of a mix we came up with ourselves. They're a lower percentage of herbs and a higher percentage of grass and clover. And which we feel works well for us. I suppose if you do give it that kick of nitrogen in the spring and the autumn, the ryegrass is there to take advantage of it, and the herbs and the clovers grow really well during the summer. So it's a sort of an all year round mix is what we're aiming for. We love how low maintenance it is. A lot of them paddocks didn't have a tractor in them from March until I went in to put out fertilizer again the other day. Just keep rotating. We don't mind going into covers of 1700 on them weathers. We wouldn't go into covers of 1700 on your typical grass and clover swards midsummer. They just being on the low nitrogen program, the cleanouts are unbelievable. So yeah, look, in short, we're really happy with them, but a word of caution, we're only in year one, so look, we'll have to see how they go over the next few years. But at the moment, the majority of our reseeding is going to be done into multi-species.
And what reseeding method are you using on the farm?
If we can avoid it, we like to avoid ploughing. This year now, we power harrowed twice, and sowed it with a big sort of a harrow we have, and we'll roll it twice. If we can avoid it, we don't plough. But we've looked at direct drilling, but I'm just not fully convinced that it with grass that it really works. I think you need everything 100% right, and if you have that, it definitely can work. But I think ground conditions, weather, grass cover, post sowing, grazing, and things all really need to be bang on. So I think if you're not going to get them bang on, a tickle some bit of cultivation will be good.
And you're hosting an open day on the 12th of September. What can farmers expect to see?
Look, there'll be a good overview of all of what's going on the farm. I suppose mainly on the beef side of it. There's going to be a live forum with a number of industry representatives there, and they're going to be discussing all the topics facing beef farming at the moment. So that should be interesting. Look, we'll have a look at the bulls, we'll have a look at the calves, we'll have a look around the yard, and I suppose the infrastructure there and the grazing blocks and things. So, look, I think it should be a good day, and hopefully there'll be a good turnout, and everyone will get something, and everyone's welcome.
And on the live panel, Pat, you will be discussing your experiences of the DairyBeef system, and there will be a representative from the meat processors to provide information on the market spec. Chris Daly from ICBF will discuss the commercial beef value. Martin Kavanagh from Munster Bovine will discuss animal health issues. And Laurence Shalloo from Teagasc will give his views on the future of the dairy industry and the outlook and options for dairy beef calves in the future. And this forum will be chaired by Doreen Corridan from Munster Bovine. So that's Tuesday the 12th of September, starting at 5 p.m. Thanks very much, Pat. It sounds like a great event.
No problem. Looking forward to it.
That's all for this week's episode. My thanks to Pat for joining me on the show. You can catch up on all other shows and interviews from the Beef Edge podcast on the Teagasc website at teagasc.ie. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for further updates. Until next time, I'm Catherine Egan, and thanks for listening.